Hey guys, V-Man from No Budget Productions, and welcome to the first episode of the Constar Continuum. And what we'll be discussing today is the episode of Break Free. Um, we'll be going through uh, some of the thoughts that I had, not mine, but yours. Um, I mean, you guys had a lot of comments on uh, the episode. And I thought it would be kind of fun to go through some of them. A lot of them are complimentary, which I appreciate. Some of them are some questions, um, and I just thought it would be kind of cool to kind of go through uh, you know some of them and just kind of recognize some of that. So that being said, to those who don't know what Break Free was about. Um, so here Uh, it's basically uh, we escaped from uh, Starport Orchard, and we were basically going around and collecting the um, uh, survivors of Wolf 359. And what started off, to those that don't know the backstory, the previous film for this one, continuity wise, was the film Resistance, where we all kind of rush on the bridge and the Borg kind of fly by us after they had taken out the fleet at Wolf 359. So we kind of see the Borg pass us, and we're not really worth the Borg's time because we don't have any power. We're not no weapons, no nothing. So the Borg fly by us and head to Earth. So we basically kind of sit there in shock and awe, and then we begin in this movie and pick up the survivors. Um, we have on board the ship a bunch of survivors. To kind of help facilitate that look, we had Wolf and Dan let us borrow the uh, you know what they had at the time, which was classic Romulan gear. So we used that. Some people nitpick why the Romulan had blue jeans, but that's what you have at the time. And I I didn't have a wardrobe, so it's basically in my original thinking, we were supposed to have a bunch of extras on set, but we didn't. So we just basically used Victoria and Josh. We're like, hey, go ahead and put on these helmets, and you know they've got classic Romulan uh, uniforms, so go ahead and put these on, and we'll just make do with what we have. So we did, and that's a lot of times that's what you find in fan films is you're kind of sacrificing instead of doing what you had, because originally we were supposed to have just the hallways full of people. Obviously that wasn't the case. A large part of the story here was Menard kind of coming to grips with he's not the engineer, he's the captain, and he's never really let go of the engineering spot. He's on a Constitution class ship, which was reminiscent of the Valiant, but he's got to let go of the engineering spot, um, and he simply can't do that. Um, and this film kind of is that letting go of the engineer and being the captain. Even though in you know stories that I've told since then, he's obviously been a captain for quite some time. But this story, it's that that story coming to light of, hey, you're not the engineer. You can't go back, because I think a lot of us in life, um, we kind of have that mentality that we can't go back. Um, we want to, but we can't. So that's kind of where the story was coming at here. It was so many moving parts. Um, so it was really a coming of age story on so many levels. So in this scene here, we have the crew kind of talking about uh, what happens if Earth is gone. And that was basically the main premise of the story, why I wanted to do this story. I really wanted a Battlestar Galactica vibe from this story, which was basically, we kind of skim over the part of, the Borg was stuck in, the Borg took Picard, yes, but they wiped out the fleet, and they were in Earth orbit for how long now? Um, and we skim over that. What happens if the Borg had destroyed Earth? And I really wanted to toy with that, and I really wish we could have made this film maybe another 20 minutes longer, because I really would have played with that. We shot five, I think it was about 4 or 5, I think it was 5 films this day, if I'm not mistaken. But I know it was at least 4 films that we shot. And every time I go to set it's always that way. Um, but if we had just this, just this film that we were shooting, I would have really delved into what does it mean if Starfleet's gone, which was why in this, for the Constar, we established there is a communications blackout with Starfleet. We never really put why. Was it a problem on Constar's end? Was it a problem with Starfleet's end? Like, we never really established why. To me, it wasn't really that important. It didn't matter why. To me, it was more important we can't communicate with Starfleet. So what does it mean if Earth's gone? What does this mean? Because I really wanted that Battlestar Galactica vibe. What does it mean? And I really wanted to pose that, because to me, Battlestar Galactica, the remake, is probably the best science fiction show out there. And that really had a strong inspiration for this film. Deep Space Nine is my favorite Star Trek. So you really see the inspirations for what I was wanting to do with Constar. With the serialized storytelling that I was wanting to do with this, with it not necessarily being, Menard centric, but Menard being, at the forefront of what we were trying to do, but leaning more on an ensemble cast, being inspired that way from DS9, being inspired from Battlestar Galactica. You can see all these different pieces kind of coming together to especially in this film. We had Michael King, which was again a throwback to the past that I've done, and every time I feel that it's appropriate to bring him back, talking about the Federation, how the Federation is always looking to the hope, future, which I felt at the time was the way things were going in modern America. We needed that hope, and I more so now, but I felt that it would be needed for the Federation, especially at Wolf 359, where Menard is sitting there going, man, what the fuck do we do? Menard would look back at the past, and he's the one person that with the Constar crew, they would look at this record of Bishop and go, this is an historical figure. Menard would look at this and go, no, that's my best friend. So he would look at that in much different context, and I really wanted to tie this episode back to the past. And even though this was about Menard going to the future, I really wanted it to remember its roots. And symbolically, with me, Vance, the actor, I really wanted to remember Michael King, my friend, who brought me on for Valiant, even though this was me, Vance, going on with the Constar. So there's a lot of symbolism in this film. I tend to do that in a lot of my films. So, and then we come to the scene with Greg Teft with Martin Bennett, and this was a scene with I know Martin gets a lot of shit for being long hair, long goatee. A lot of people they tend to talk about Martin's wardrobe, but I intentionally told him to hey, wear your civilian clothes, wear what you want to, the more the more sloppy the better. Because in my mind, when you're on a star base and you're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, or refugees per se, you're not going to look, necessarily the best well kept, So to me, wear whatever you want, man. I'm not going to nitpick. And that was the thing here is, people when you look at the Badlands, in DS9 or Voyager, those people weren't necessarily the best of the best. They looked how they looked, and that was what I conveyed to Martin here. My mentality was like, this guy could have joined Starfleet, but he never had the chance to. We're going to put him on that path. It's kind of like Major Kira. She started off as the hothead when she, was on DS9, and when she left, she still got that hotheadness to her, but we're going to put her on a different path. Whereas with Martin, we're putting him on the Starfleet path, but he ends up much different, at least in terms of the Constar. I mean, he kind of goes on a wiggle road per se, but it was definitely intentional. It wasn't just because we're sloppy or lazy. Everything was done intentionally. But I was very happy with this scene, especially considering, whatever this machine is that Dan and Wolf had in the middle of the hallway. We were able to use that because the one thing that I always wanted to do was, whenever they had something new on set, I always wanted to stick that in the film because it's like you never know when you're going to see that again. And I really enjoyed that. And also, if you look behind Greg, it's kind of hard to see here, but if you look in the film, you can see that one of the poles is sideways because they were still kind of rebuilding that hallway, and that was something that not seen in any other film, I don't believe. And I like that because it kind of makes the ship appear again that it's not in the best of shape. So I like that aspect of it because, again, something you don't see very often. So, and then we get to Commander Young and Captain Menard. They have the the handshake. Our friendship's going to be the stuff of legend, which ends up being ironic because more toward the end of the series, they end up being, because of Menard's deception, bitter enemies. Much like Clark Kent and Lex Luthor, because Clark's secret, they end up hating each other, and that's very similar here. There's a lot of parallels there, and I originally brought the story up to Eli, and I know Eli didn't really want to play the villain in the episode, but I was, or at least with the storyline, I think he would rather have played, a good Starfleet officer that maintained, that Starfleet officerness. But he played it very well. Eli's a talented actor and did wonderful with the storyline that we played all the way through it. The thing is, every time we turned up the charm with him, it just made it more bitter, not bittersweet, but just bitter, because you wanted you wanted Menard to trust him, but Menard just simply couldn't, and there really was no reason not to, and it was just kind of a dick move on Menard's part, with the whole network thing. So I loved the storyline. This is their storyline is probably one of my favorite in all of the storyline, and it's because Eli is such a talented guy, and Eli is a great friend in real life, one of the most intelligent men, spiritually, one of the most honest, humble people you'll meet out there. Very, very true to the character that I wrote of Young, which was completely unintentional. But the more I got to know Eli, the more I was like, oh man, let's write this character more like this, and it really shined through, which made it more sympathetic when they finally have the falling out. It's very, very bitter, and it's completely on Menard's fault. Then we have Joe Cepeda. You gotta love that fucking wig, man. He's a trooper. He will always go the he will go that last mile to get a good performance. Um, uh, from Star Trek Nature's Hunger. And when I asked him if he wanted to be an admiral in this era, playing his character from Star Trek Nature's Hunger, Admiral Ramsey's, he of course was a trooper, did it. Um, this is the first time that I worked with Joe, and he did it, and much. He was playing the Adam West to my Michael Keaton. Both Batman. Just, whew, wow, what a scene. And all I can say is, ride that tiger, man. What a scene. What a scene. So we finally got the Constar in dry dock, and I got to say, this is probably one of my favorite shots of the Constar. To me, this looked the most motion picture intentional, because I had told Joey Benoist, I was like, look, man, this is our money shot, man. This is when we finally get up to this shot, the Constar, we're flying up to it. This has got to be the most beautiful shot of the Constar we've ever fucking seen, and he did not disappoint. This was, there's other beautiful shots of the Constar, but this is just gorgeous. The lighting and everything. I mean, he completely replicated that motion picture shot. The lighting, just everything on it. The perfect blue of the warp nacelles. Everything. Yeah, and people complain about the warp nacelles being blue. I of course I had my reasons for doing it that way, but you almost forget the fact that they are. This perfectly encapsulates everything about us. The difference of the crew, the different century, just everything. You forget everything about everything that's wrong, that shouldn't work about the series, and it is perfect. It looks great. So that being said, there's us in the shuttlecraft, because again, we really didn't need the shot of the shuttlecraft, but I knew I wanted that shot. I was like, yeah, let's have our Kirk Scotty moment where we're flying around. Let's do it. Because again, when you see the different sets, you're like, let's do this. Let's make it work. So I knew I wanted the engineer, and at first it was just supposed to be me and Greg Taft, because I was like, well, let's have me and my Scotty moment, the Kirk and Scotty moment. But then I was like, Eli, come on, let's go do it. You're with us, man, because again, I wanted to build. I knew I wanted to build the relationship between that. And then I thought, well, that's kind of our triad per se, but it was so good, this scene, because it didn't drag on like it did with Kirk and Scotty. It really did do good. And when these three are flying and you see the close up of the registry as they fly across the saucer section, it looks really good. Doesn't look cheesy at all. So then the final shot of this, we have in the background, you see in the cadet uniform, you see Martin. He's just been promoted to cadet. He's going to be allowed to be on the ship, and he's talking to Greg, and they have their little heart-to-heart, which is good. I wanted to set up that scene there because I felt like it was important. I always wished Wesley Crusher had instead of going off to Starfleet Academy, I'd always hoped he'd come back to Star Trek Next Generation in the cadet uniform. I'd hoped Will Wheaton had returned, and of course he never did. But I always felt that he should have returned to his con helm position in his cadet uniform. I thought that would have visually looked cool, and that's kind of what I wanted for Martin. Sit at your position in your cadet uniform. So that's why I wanted a cadet on the ship. And then standing next to me is the late Michael Sylvester. Passed away about 5 or 6 months ago due to COVID complications. He played, for those that don't know, he played Captain Cooper in Melbourne series, Stormfront Part 1 and 2. And then he played Dr. Chilcott in this film, the last is it the last? I believe it's the last word, and then Shakedown. So he played Dr. Cooper, or no, Dr. Chilcott, not Dr. Chilcott, in three Constar films, and he was the photographer also on the Melbourne stuff, and just an all around great human being, wonderful geek, uh, you know, uh, with all of us other geeks, just a wonderful human being, and he lived and breathed Star Trek. Behind the scenes on a lot of different open house / convention type stuff. Um, I can't say enough good things about this guy. Anyone that knew him knew his passion, loved him. Uh, he's sadly missed. I fucking love this dude. Um, we had many, many conversations. Sadly, it wasn't, not enough conversations. But I can't talk this guy up enough. He on the very first Constar film, Resistance, he's the one that brought all the extra uniforms that we had for that one, and he made that film possible. Honestly, if it was not for him, there would have been no Constar film, because I wouldn't have had the uniforms, because all I had was my uniform that I had since like 1998 or 2000. Like I wouldn't have had that. So if it wasn't for him, there would be no Constar film, because I wouldn't be able to do that. So his generosity, there needs to be, I wish there was more people in the world like him. We sadly we lost out when he passed away. So and that was he will be he recorded a thing that will be on the Constar documentary that we are doing. He had recorded one final thing that'll be out for that. But one thing he had mentioned was he wished he had done. Okay, sorry about that. The thing kind of glitched out on me there. Sorry about that. So yeah, so sorry, damn internet. So that is my thoughts on everything. Um, so we had a lot of fun doing Break Free. Like I said, we shot about 4 or 5 films. Um, and that one was probably at the time the most ambitious one we had done. We shot, I mean, several different parts of um, ship. Uh, we shot at two different locations. Um, I mean, it's the most ambitious one we had. It was great fun to do. Um, and it clearly establishes the crew of the Constar. Um, it was a lot of fun to do. Um, it is truly the origin story of the Constar. So um, it's I can't really think of anything else to say. The film's around 30 minutes long, and I know it's kind of a big no-no. We didn't break it into two parts, but I think one of the things that nobody really pays attention to the films that I do. Our we don't have the biggest budget. Our Starfleet officers were sneakers half the time, but we're never going to get mistaken for like a Star Trek Discovery. You know, um, but you can tell like we have the heart of Star Trek. You watch the production, and the heart is there. You know, it's it, you can see the fun we have. We grew as a cast. The stories that we love to tell. It's there. It's a lot of fun. Um, and the story that we wanted to tell. I think it was an important one. The cast of characters they grew. You can tell that we started in one place and we're going towards something. It's not just the wham bam thank you ma'am type storytelling. Um, so I would encourage anyone watch it. If you haven't, I'll put a link in the description. Um, it's to me it was like I said, it's a lot of fun. The sets are a lot of fun to be on. I'd encourage anyone go there, film on them if you can. Um, it's a lot more fun than working on a green screen. I'll say that. You're not saying that it's bad to work on a green screen, but people nitpick that it's a TOS set in the next generation era, but it's one of those things where it's like when you're on those sets, and I'll say this for any set, when you're on a set and you write a story and you're like, it doesn't really matter. You fit the story to whatever your limitations are, fit the story to write, fit the story for whatever your need is, and just go have fun. And that's what we did there. You can see we're just having fun. Like the story didn't really matter. We were just having fun. Um, and that's what these fan films are about, just going and having fun. We're just fans enjoying ourselves. Of course the story's important and we take it very seriously, but we're just having fun, and that's what these are about. If nobody watched them except for us, great. If only our family watched it, great. If it was just our friends, great. If nobody watched it, okay. It didn't really matter because we had fun and we grew together as people. Because everybody there, I'm still friends with. Like Eli, talked to him the other day. Yava, whenever I talk to her, man, it's like a cousin or a long distance sister. Greg, whenever I talk to him, man, I fucking miss that. I miss that dude. Martin, that dude makes content for the channel quite often. I know these people. They're great people. Josh, man, yeah, we're like one step. We're just about to the dick pic time. I kid, of course. Maybe, you know, but it's like these are friendships that years later you still have them. And that's what these things are about. It doesn't matter about how many likes you have or how many comments you have or whatnot. I mean, they're great. Don't get me wrong. I love the comments. I love the likes. That's what makes these things worth it sometimes. Because it helps you keep going. But doing the films, it makes you grow with the people both in front of and behind the camera. So, but anyway, that was my experience on working on Break Free. I hoped you enjoyed the the kind of retrospective of Break Free. Next week, I will be doing the comments um, on Constar Continuum. So see you next week, and we'll go through the comments. So, all right, guys, keep on geeking on.